Please let me introduce you to Learjet 45, serial number 278. November 63 Whiskey Juliet, our aircraft, and this is the aircraft we'll be using, or utilizing should I say, for the, well, comparison test bed of the original General Electric 4875 taxi light bulb that we have with a new landing light, type 4875 from AeroLEDs in Boise, Idaho. We'll cover the installation and how to do it, and then of course towards the end of the video we will have dark recorded with several different cameras, both stills and motion pictures on comparison between the OEM General Electric halogen, I believe it's a 250 watt bulb, compared to the AeroLEDs 20 by 20 or 20 by 40. So one's more of a spot and one is more of a flood type. See which one like best, and the goal here is to share that with the community so you can take a peek should you be in the market of considering to upgrade your landing lights, taxi lights, to LEDs from halogen. You can choose your pattern. Take a look at it, what you think. Here we go. So here's the, in this case, right-hand landing gear of a Learjet 45. This is a typical par 36 style lamp. As you can see, reason for ours being replaced and us going in this direction is a crack in the lens. Looks like we took a rock from the nose gear, kicked it up I suppose, and cracked it. Still works, but nevertheless time for its replacement. Very, very simple to do. There's an outer retainer ring that has a screw on it, and you just loosen that and the lamp falls out. Perhaps now is a good time to mention that I'm not an advocate for any way, shape or form towards doing your own maintenance. You are allowed as an aircraft owner and operator under Code of Federal Regulation 14, which covers aviation, to do certain maintenance yourself. In simple terms, this is a light bulb. I am the operator of the aircraft, and whether you choose to do that or have somebody done for you, that is totally up to you. So here we go. One screw that holds it. The retainer ring then breaks free, and you can just hold the reflector or unit in like so. There's a silicone gasket that you want to keep for now. And on the back side you have two wires that just needs to be removed. As that lamp then falls out, you have, unlike the screw holding it in place was a Phillips, this is a flathead. As I'd mentioned earlier in the video, all electrical power has been removed from the aircraft by disconnecting all three batteries, and of course, that being the case, there is no other power that can be channeled out here. If you feel more secure to go pull the circuit breakers, there are a circuit breaker there, 5 amps each for the taxi landing lights, whatever that you decide. Here's the old lens, and we're going to replace it with this. Really appreciate the proudly made in the USA Boise, Idaho sticker. To me that means a lot. And we now have one of these. Big aluminum heat sink, it appears like on the back. And there is a notch here on the side that needs to line up with a notch on the housing. So obviously that needs to get done first. So also in this kit, you can see there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 LED emitters. And I'm not sure if you can catch that on the video, but they have in each separate lens built into the polycarbonate, I'm sure it is, front face here. So from longevity standpoint, we all know that glass, you can do a lot of things to it and it'll still be nice and shiny. Plastic maybe not so much, but what you can't do to a glass is impact it. It is so brittle and hard that it'll crack. I'm not saying this thing is gonna not crack if you hit it with a rock, but polycarbonate, or polymers rather, in general, are more resistant to impact punctures, or they're more impact resistant as compared to glass. So that's a feature in the aviation world that I appreciate. I've flown these bigger airplanes for over 30 years now, and I can't tell you how many times we've gone through landing light, taxi light lenses, because these do sit right in the firing line for whatever the nose hits up. And so from a safety standpoint, I think that actually carries some weight as well, that it's going to last longer. There is a component maintenance manual that came along with this that does specify that you can operate with an LED or two out, say hit by a rock and such, before you need to replace it. You cannot replace them individually. You have to replace the whole unit, but they're very affordable. So, all right, let's get to put it in. Then along with the new lens, you get 2 new brass screws. They're flathead instead of Phillips, so just prepare for that. There is a notch in this lens here, and you can theoretically put it at 4 different locations. I choose to mount mine with the lettering AeroLEDs right side up, so the tap will be on this side here. So first we'll install the LEDs, or LEDs, or leads is a better word, pardon my foreigner language. Just snug it for now. There's no torque listed in the component maintenance manual, so I can't really tell you how much you torque it to, but I'm going to torque it to, with 2 fingers, what I think is proper for a brass nut. Double check it looks good. Then before you install it, utilize the same silicone gasket that was in the old light. Goes over relatively easy. Make sure the notch fits in. And I'm going to turn it so that the the bolt goes in from the other side. I don't think it really matters. But it's just easier to get to. And there you have it. Kind of hold it while you insert the screw. And you're done. This is where it sat before, and this is where it sits again. We will now put it to the test. If you decide to do your own weights, which I would of course encourage you to do, the light that you took out is 7 3/8, not 3/4. So it's a not too heavy glass bulb, but I think all the heat sink and whatnot that's on the new bulb obviously makes it a bit heavier. So if we take this off and re-zero the weight and put the new one on, 11 3/8, not 12 1/2. So there you have it, 4 ounces heavier, which obviously is up to you how you wish to tackle that. My plan is I will calculate the weight and moment, insert that into my aircraft flight manual. Until next time. So on the left, we have the spotlight or the landing light. The last 4 of the part number is 4596. On the right, we have the taxi light. And you can see that there's a little bit difference on the lens. It has the last 4 digits on the part number 4587. This one carries a 45-degree wide by 20 tall beam spread. This one is a 20 by 20. So essentially you have a cone that's 20 degrees wide and 20 degrees tall. You figure that if you're on a 3-degree glide slope with a 3-degree deck angle, that 6 degrees is what your eyes will need to see, plus or minus a wee bit, so plenty inside of the 20-degree arc that you have here. On the back side, you have the heatsink. Onward for the testing. Then it was the night of the test. So a couple of things that probably need to cover here. These are the camera setups that we will use. We will have a GoPro 8 that records in 4K on the top of the aircraft. You see it on the nose of the airplane. And on the far right, you will see a Canon EOS 7D. Here's the GoPro sitting out, and that will record. There is an automatic white balance on it, so you will see the balance adjusting as the different types of lights comes on. But it gives you sort of an idea. On the right-hand side, far right, you will see the Canon 7D. I set that with a specialty lens on it that has a 1.4 aperture. And we shot that at 1.4, wide open sort of, and 1/200 of a second. Found that that was really the best way mimicking what my eye saw when we used the controlled, which is the OEM Par 36 lights that was installed in the aircraft. That was sort of the way to calibrate it, where this was what my eyes saw. And that was a really good way to, well, calibrate in between the shoots. We left it at 1.4 aperture at 1/200 of a second throughout the entire shoot. And inside the aircraft in the cockpit, I'm using a Galaxy S22 that also has an automatic white balance. But it gives you some kind of idea of what to expect. We try to be as neutral as possible. So here we go. So here we are. This is the OEM control test. The first video will be of the OEM bulb, the General Electric 4875. And this is without anything. And now we're going to turn the lights on. with the OEM General Electric 4875 stock bulb as it works on the taxi light on a Learjet 45. You want to flip the switch one more out, let's turn the landing lights on. There you have taxi and landing light. Okay, down to taxi. And back off.
Here's the Canon EOS 7D taking a picture of no lights with an aperture of 1.4 and 1/200th of a second. Then we turn the OEM taxi lights on, and you can see them with the same 1.4 aperture and 1/200th of a second. And finally, we add the OEM landing lights to this same aperture of 1.4 and 1/200th of a second shutter speed.
So here's the video from the cockpit with no lights on. Obviously the camera is having quite a white balance adjustment there. The airplane you see up ahead is 338 feet. The traffic cone you see is 368 feet ahead. Here's taxi light. Here's taxi and landing lights, OEM. A big adjustment, obviously, way too much light. And back to off.
As seen from the cockpit, this is without any lights, with automatic white balance, make it look like daylight, but it's really dusk. Then here we are with the OEM taxi lights only. And here we are finally with the OEM taxi and landing lights on.
So here we are. We've taken the Par 36 OEM Lear 45 XR halogen incandescent lights out, replaced them with the Floodlight from AeroLEDs. They carry a 40-degree wide beam spread and a 20-degree up and down beam spread as well. The OEM lights are 250 watts. These are 100 watts. So I'll take a step back and we'll turn them on. All right. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference. Brighter light, more things illuminated. And I would say that's pretty impressive. Now let's go 2 more clicks up to landing lights. And back down to taxi. And back to off.
First, for control, we have the 7D with 1.4 aperture, 1/200th of a second, with no lights at all. And here we are with the floodlights from AeroLEDs, flood only, that's a 40 degrees spread to the side and 20 degrees up and down. And then to that, we add the landing lights, the OEM landing lights on the inside of the belly of the aircraft.
And here is the video from the cockpit with no lights, taxi lights, and halogen OEM landing lights. Again, the airplane you see in front of us is 338 feet away. The reflectivity of that cone you see is 364 feet away. Back down to taxi lights. And off.
And here we are back in the cockpit once again with an automatic white balance on the Galaxy S22. You can see it looks like daylight. It really is not. Here it is, no lights. And from the inside of the cockpit, then we turn on the floodlights. This is the AeroLED's floodlights. And then we finally add the OEM landing lights. You can see they're noticeable. You can see they're more precise in directing the lights, but they're going out to the sides. So there it is.
So we have now replaced the floodlight with a 40-degree wide and 20-degree up and down spread from AeroLEDs with their landing light that has a 20 degrees up and down, 20 degrees left, right, same wattage, 100 watts, landing lights. So here it is with no lights on, and pay attention to the fence. Couldn't see too much of that fence before. Look at it now. All right. That's a bright fence. The airplane's illuminated better. You can see the post a little bit better. That's 364 feet away. Traveling at 175 feet per second, I think that's beneficial to you. There's also no dead spots in the middle, whereas with the landing lights there was dead spots. So go ahead and turn the landing lights on. They go left and right and they almost drown out. I mean, they go out to the side, which is lovely. And back to taxi. And back to off.
Once again from the side, this is with the Canon EOS 7D, 1.4 aperture and a 1/200th of a second of shutter speed. This is with no lights. Here is the spotlight, 20-degree wide beam, 20 degrees up and down. Note the fence, how lit it is, and note the piles of dirt or rocks or whatever it is on the other side, how lit it is as well. And then we add the OEM landing lights.
So here we are in the last shot in the cockpit. There's no set aperture and shutter speed on this one, so it's automatic white balance, so it will adjust. But you'll get the point. Here it is, dark out in front of us. You can't really see anything. And here comes the taxi light, which is now the spotlights. Quite a bit of difference. You can see more of the fence, that's for sure, down in the end. And here comes the landing lights. kind of drowns out, really. Illuminate out to the sides. So if you come in on, we should call them crosswind landing lights. Landing off, down the taxi. And there you have it.
View from the cockpit. Again, this S22 Galaxy has automatic white balance, so it just stays on longer. And when you don't have any lights out there, it makes it look like daylight. Here it is, no lights. And then we turn on the spotlights from AeroLEDs with a 20 by 20 widespread cone up and down, left and right. And then we add the OEM landing lights.
So here's a dark hangar, somewhat dark, with an office, just to give us a little bit of ambient, but no lights on. Okay, Bryce, you can go ahead and give us landing light. That is just incredible. Okay, and landing lights? I mean, there's just no juice in there. Back to taxi. And off.
I sincerely hope that you enjoy this little photo shoot and video demonstration of the lights. We've done the best we can to have everything else being equal, and well, that's what we were missing, we felt, when we were looking for lights. I visited AeroLED's booth at NBAA a while back, but they did not have a Part 25 cert at the time. So now they do. They didn't send me these for free. I paid for these. I'm not sponsoring, endorsing, or they're not sponsoring me. I just want to share. Have a good look at it and see if this is something for you. If you have any questions, my email is listed through my YouTube channel. I sincerely hope that this is somewhat helpful to you to try to figure out if this is something that you want to do or not. Lastly, here we start with 3 pictures. This is the original OEM Par 36 light as the aircraft came from the factory. And here is AeroLeds Floodlight. A lot more width to the beam, about 40 degrees. Things are lit up to the side, but not necessarily far down the hill. And here's the spotlights. That is further down the hill, but you're missing some peripheral. Interesting which one you like. I hope you've enjoyed it.